called Loyum Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakak Wadash. That's the name of the Father, in the name of the Holy Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit, right? The Rakak Wadash, right? Because the Spirit of the Lord is the Scriptures, right? And the angels that go forth to obey the commands of the Lord to make things happen and to manifest, right? And so we're here at a time that what this whole thing is the Spirit of the Lord on the left-hand side allowing these devils to make this mandate, right? And so, and we know that these so-called Jewish owns the media, so it's a weird thing that they would come to say these type of things that's on this news report that I'm going to show you. But most likely it's control opposition, but it's just the point they even said the things that they're saying. So without further ado, let's get into this.
Tim, tell us what's on your radar.
Well, just how effective has Joe Biden's federal vaccine mandate actually been? Well, if you ask Joe Biden, it's going extraordinarily well.
But don't take it from me. Not from some, liberal think tank this comes from, but here's what Wall Street's saying. Goldman Sachs, quote, vaccinations will have a positive impact on employment. It means less spread of COVID-19, which will help people return to work. Moody's on Wall Street. Vaccination means fewer infections, hospitalizations, and death. In turn, it means a stronger economy. One economist called vaccine requirements, and I quote, the single most powerful, I didn't say single, the most powerful economic stimulus ever enacted, end of quote.
The most powerful economic stimulus ever enacted. That is quite the statement. If you remember, on September 9th, Biden announced his plan to coerce 80 million people into getting the vaccine or lose their jobs. The mandate, which goes into effect November 22nd, requires all federal employees and contractors, as well as any employee of a company with more than 100 workers, to get the jab. There is a weekly test option for the employees of private companies, but no testing option for the federal workers and contractors, even if the contractor works from home. Now, as a result of the mandate, more people have obviously gotten vaccinated. I mean, if you threaten people with their livelihoods, many people will cave and will choose to pay their bills and put food on the table. But despite Biden insisting the mandate is a powerful economic stimulus that's getting the country back on track, many people have chosen to quit their jobs. And as a result, we're now seeing an unprecedented shortage of workers across a variety of essential industries: hospital workers, home health care aides, police officers, firefighters, pilots, border patrol, port workers, truck drivers. Industries that were already facing worker shortages for a variety of reasons are now seeing major disruptions due to workers resisting the mandates. There is now a historic healthcare worker shortage from vaccine mandates across the country. In Virginia, the top 5 hospitals have had to stop accepting psychiatric patients. A Rhode Island hospital has been forced to close part of its ER. A maternity ward in upstate New York has stopped delivering babies. 60% of nurses are reportedly thinking of leaving Oregon's largest hospital. Hospitals in rural Texas are at risk of being shut down. And on top of this, nursing homes and home health care aides are resigning, causing a massive shortage. Seattle is looking at letting 40% of its police force go. And in Los Angeles, the sheriff's department says it can't enforce the mandate because it can't afford to lose any of its officers. Now, this might be welcome news to those who want to defund the police, but the issue doesn't stop with the police. The country is also facing a major firefighter shortage. The nation's supply chain has already been in a dire situation. We have a trucker shortage and a lack of port workers that's causing dozens of cargo ships to be waiting at sea, and the vaccine mandates have exacerbated an already bad situation. It was hard enough to find workers for these jobs. Now with the mandates, that search has worsened. And over the weekend, Southwest Airlines canceled or delayed over 1,800 flights, claiming weather problems, which somehow didn't affect any other airline. Rumors are the pilots of the airline staged a sick out over the mandates, which caused the widespread disruption, and now people are stranded. So not being able to get a hospital bed because of a nursing shortage, not having police show up when a crime is being committed, not having enough firefighters put out a burning house, being stranded at an airport, and not being able to get necessary household items all seem to be a far cry from vaccine mandates getting the economy back on track. They seem to be doing the exact opposite. Going back to Biden quoting Moody's on Wall Street, they claim vaccination means fewer infections, hospitalizations, and deaths, which means a stronger economy. But we know the people who are filling up the hospitals are overwhelmingly over the retirement age of 65. This and the fact that the mandates are required even for people who work from home, truck drivers who work alone, and also for people who have robust natural immunity makes more and more people wonder how much of this is about following the science or just political strong-arming. So, Robbie, it doesn't look like these mandates are really working in the way that Joe Biden hoped. I mean, saying that, oh, this is getting the economy back on track, and we're just seeing sort of mayhem and utter collapse of industries. I mean, not being able to deliver babies in certain hospitals, not being able to be admitted to others, and a lot of that, we've heard a lot of talk about, well, it's because of COVID patients filling up hospitals, and a lot of the hospitals are saying, actually, it's because we don't have staff for the beds. We have the beds. We don't have the staff.
Right.
And, so this is just kind of causing a problem on top of a problem. How do we even fix this?
It's funny, if a bunch of public employees resign or quit because they don't want to get vaccinated, Biden will inadvertently be the most libertarian president of all time. He'll accomplish what Reagan, Bush, Trump never could in firing a bunch of government workers inadvertently, which I think is funny. It's just funny that this is how it's going about. But yeah, no, I'm against these, especially because it doesn't make any sense. Look, if you're going to create the strongest case for doing vaccine mandates, there is no reason not to exempt people who've already had the disease and don't want to get vaccinated. We know from looking at the data, they have just as much protection. Maybe it's a little weaker, maybe it's a little better. I don't think it's totally clear yet, but it looks pretty solid. So if I was going to construct the best case for doing mandates, which I don't support, but if you're going to do them, you should certainly do that, and they haven't done that. Then it's just become, so what is this about? This is about the government can tell you to tell your employer to make you do this just to push you around. I mean, months ago, Biden said he didn't think he could do a federal mask mandate. It's like people like CNN were demanding that, right, when he was incoming as president. And he said he didn't think he could do that. But he thinks he can require people to get vaccinated? If he didn't have that power, why does he have this power? So it makes no sense. And I think people are very frustrated and very sick of it. And just the things you've talked about. Well, what does this mean? They have to get a booster shot too, and then the booster to the booster, and so on and so forth. I just think it's unending if you accept this.
Well, and it's just not helping. I mean, that's the biggest issue is that even, as you mentioned many times, is that the mandates, you get a mandate and you think, or the promises that have been made, this is just kind of one more of those failed promises where they said, okay, if you get the vaccine, then you can go about your life. You don't have to wear your mask. You can have your Christmas with your family. And that ended up being a failed promise. And now with these mandates, which is, okay, we're going to get the country back on track. And then over the weekend, you've got Southwest Airlines collapsing, essentially, 1,800 flights being canceled, and now apparently there's rumors that other airlines might have the same sort of thing happening to them, and we're also hearing rumors of Amtrak, rumors of American Airlines, rumors of, police departments and firefighters and hospitals going under. I mean, these are essential services, and to have these going under like this is the exact opposite. And so it's just one more of those, 2 weeks to stop the spread. And then what happened? We had to go on and on and on and on with the lockdowns. Okay, wear the masks and everything goes back to normal. And that didn't happen. Get the vaccine, everything goes back to normal. Okay, mandate them and everything goes back to normal. This isn't ending. And it is causing so much frustration. And clearly the people just aren't buying it. We need everybody, especially in the healthcare field right now. People are already resigning out of just exhaustion. And, and then we add this on top of it, we're just losing people. So this is causing mayhem. It's not working. But I wonder do you think the administration is going to be able to backtrack, like backpedal on this and say, okay, never mind? Or do you think they're going to double down?
No, they're never going to admit they're wrong, and they're never going to stop listening to whatever, like Dr. Fauci is the federal government at this point, right? That man is not going to admit that that mandates aren't working, the public health establishment loves the new power it has and will never willingly give it up. So to backpedal would be an admission of failure, or an admission that they've used this power irresponsibly, and they are never going to do that because it would lead to too much blowback in terms of the power that we've given them, and they don't want to give that up.
Well, and meanwhile, we're seeing other countries not mandating or even going backwards, and saying, okay, we're lifting these restrictions and we're lifting, so we're going in a different direction than a lot of the other countries around especially like Scandinavia and the UK. And so it's kind of one of those things where unless the entire world is, and I mean the entire world, is on the exact same page on how to handle this.
Right, and that's never going to happen. Right. That's just never going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll have.
All right, Bobby.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to your radar. That's coming up next.
But the whole thing about that is the whole world is on the same page. Just not your world, as far as the elite and all these places, like Apostle Har was saying about how they had these summit meetings, and all these people are supposed to be so-called terrorists, and they'll have these summit meetings. Why don't you arrest them right there? Won't you grab them or kill them or do something? But because it's a freaking game. All you guys are playing a game, and you're the pawns. All the regular people in the world are just pawns. So they're all on the same page, right? It's to cause confusion. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 8. It says, if a man liveth many years and rejoice in them all, yet let him remember, right? Remember the days of darkness. And right, that's where we're at. We're in the days of darkness, right? But because it's controlled opposition, Biden does not think that the worst case scenario is going to happen, right? Because right now they're causing this thing, right? Like I was just seeing on the news with the cargo shipping, right? Now the CVS's have everything locked up. They have everything in these glass, basically cages with locks. And now you have to go get a worker to unlock it to get any items. It could be any, because normally they have the more expensive items locked up, but they got soap locked up. Like they got everything locked up. Toothpaste is locked up, right? So this is all because it's controlled opposition, right? So, they're not really thinking about the days of darkness, for they shall be many. For they shall be many. It's going to be many days of darkness, right? All that cometh is vanity, right? So all the things that you have done and all these things is basically, it was vanity. Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, right? And the thing that reminds me of this is was it Job? I believe it's Job 30. He that is younger than me had me in derision, something like that. And let thy heart cheer in the days of thy youth, right? Right. So this in the time of their rulership, because they were they ruled in Greece, they ruled in Rome, and then we're in the second leg of Rome, which is America. Even though they went into the Caucasus Mountain for the 1,000 years, because it was a place that was familiar, like Mount Seir. So they went to the Caucasus Mountains, and until the 1,000 years were done, and it came out to deceive the world again, right? But at the same time, they're like a young man, like a man that's in their youth, right? Simplicity, right? And walketh in the ways of thy heart, which means mind. Lob means heart. Heart in the Hebrew is lob, and lob means mind. So it's talking about your mind. And in the sight of thy eyes. So do what you think in your own mind, or in the sight of your eyes, what you either think or see what you want to do. If you want to do all that thing, it's your youth, rejoice, do what you feel, basically do it thy will, right? That's the whole was it New World Order motto, right? The elites motto, Aleister Crowley, right? Do it thy will, right? That's basically what the Lord said. Okay, do it thy will then, right? But know thus that for all these things, Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai Basham Rakal Kodash will bring thee into judgment, right? So go ahead, do what you think, but you got to know that you're going to come into judgment. But see, they think it's because of control opposition. They're showing their laser weapons, right? Because Russia revealed theirs, was it a year or two ago? Now, America saying that they have an actual a portable hand laser weapon, and they've mostly been showing off all their military weapons lately. So that they're getting prepared for what's coming, right? Because they keep talking about 2023, 2025, right? So think something's going to happen. Therefore, remove sorrow from thy heart and put away evil from thy flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity. So the Esau is never going to actually put away evil from himself, because that's just what he's made of. You know what I mean? But he's a child. Yeah. So yeah, things like that. The same-sex parades, and Esau, he has no understanding, right? Let's skip down right here to 12. Upon my right hand, right, which is dealing with your strength, we're the Israelites, so we're supposed to be dealing with righteousness. So the righteousness of the Lord is what we're supposed to be dealing with, right? It says, upon my right hand raise the youth, right? So the strength, right? Because they wanted to block you from understanding that you were Israelite, right? The military power we had, the strongholds we had, they came and conquered, going back into the 1100s all the way into the 1400s, when they actually got a lot more power, a lot more strength, and power, where was it Christopher Columbus came over into America and then conquered the Israelites that were here in America, right? Then went and got Jake from west coast of Africa, right? Because, well, let's not mention the Jakes that were already in Europe, that they had to circulate out of Europe, which actually were the first slaves, because the first slave ship came from was it Spain and Portugal, right? Which is, that European area. So those, they went into slavery first out of Europe, because we ruled Europe for 1,000 years. When that basically this time right here, that's in this, because this is when they were in the Caucasus Mountain. This is that prophecy right here. But I'm just skipping down. So it's and says, upon my right hand, right, which is the truth, the knowledge, the understanding, our military, the priests, the prophecies, they withheld and had men teach us, different, the slave Bible, basically. Took out a lot of the Bible, portions of the Bible, and only gave you the slave Bible, right? But they're younger than us, so they're not smart. It says, they push away my feet, right? By telling you that you're not an Israelite, that you're black, Hispanic, you're Native Indian, you're Mexican, you're Puerto Rican, you're black, you're Negro, you're African American. I mean, you're Dominican, you're Cuban, you're Native American, all these different things. You're Colombian, all these things. You're Nicaraguan, you're all these other different things besides being an Israelite, a child of God. So they push away your feet from the path that you're supposed to be on, right? Because they want you to be on their path, right? Matter of fact, I think it says, and they rise up against me the ways of their destruction, right? Because they want you to go down their path. That's why they want to inoculate you. They want you to, they want you to have race, basically the mark of the beast, because that's really where we're going to ultimately, right? But one of the first steps is everybody get the magic juice, the magic potion, right? They mar my path, right? They take away, they're trying to take away the path to get back to righteousness, to get back to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai. They set forward my calamity, right? Because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to set up your calamity, right? So you could fall in the place in the same path that they're going to, because they're going to be destroyed. Because they just rejoiced and did what they thought in their own heart. But they taught you that same thing too. Oh, you only live once. YOLO. Do it thy will. Right? But that's not what the Lord said. You need to be thinking about what's going to come in the days. They want you to believe in their science. Just trust the science. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it haven't been tested and proven. You know what? Yeah, it took less than a year, but so what? But that's how far more advanced we have gotten, when that's all BS, man. Right? You haven't shown anything else that you've been that far advanced. Right? They have no helper, right? So with all this that they're doing, at the end of the day, they have no. The reason why they're doing this is because they have no helper, but you do. But they want to confuse you Israelites, you so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, to think you don't have a helper. To push away your path, so you can fall under the path that they're going, so they can basically stay in having you in derision, basically. Yeah, this is Isaiah chapter 47. I'm gonna go verse 6. I was wroth with my people, right? You Israelites, right? The Lord allowed those Edomites to rule over you, to have you in derision for a time, right? And I have polluted my inheritance, right? Because you're the Lord's people, you know what I mean? Right? You so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indian of Indian and Negro descent, and the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but your bloodline goes back to Israel around the world, right? Or even here in Babylon, right? And given them into thy hands, right? So we were given into their hands. They didn't just conquer us because they were these great conquerors, right? though their history tells you that, but ultimately battles are won because the Most High say that you're to win these battles. Thus did show them no mercy. See, they have showed us no mercy. So that's why in the end, yeah, you moved us from these paths. You try to teach us the slave Bible. You basically didn't let us know that we were Israelites and God can, the Lord, who the world calls Jesus Christ, which his real name is Yahushua. All of a sudden, he died for the whole entire world, and everybody can be saved. But you know what? We don't like you niggas. We like you Mexicans, but only to a certain extent. We like you Dominicans, but only this certain level, because they're not treating you that much better than us. Though you'll take that little bit and try to think that you're better than the so-called Negro, right? Which is actually the tribe of Judah. But in the end, what the tribe of Judah is going to be the head tribe in the kingdom, right? So that's okay, right? They have showed us no mercy. And upon the ancient have thus very heavily laid thy yoke, right? Because, hey, slavery for the northern kingdom, right? You so-called Mexicans, you so-called Puerto Ricans, you so-called Native Americans, you were put on slave ships too and carried on slave ships, which some of you will admit, because I've spoke to some Native people, I spoke to some Mexican people, and and some Puerto Ricans, they'll agree that they were put on slave ships too and sent the other way. But it's very few that actually just come out and admit, yeah, we was on slave ships too. But that's going to be your calamity, right? But those that acknowledge and pay attention, when it says and thus said, I shall be a lady forever, and that's Esau Edom. They're going to be Lady Liberty forever, right? America, Babylon the Great forever, so that thus did not lay these things to heart, to thy heart. You didn't lay these things to thy heart. Neither remember thy latter end, that what? You're going to be destroyed. Esau Edom is going to be ultimately be destroyed. I shall be a lady forever, so that thus did it not lay these things to thy heart. Heart goes into lob, which is mind, to their mind. Neither did remember the latter end of it. Wherefore, hear now this, thus that are given to pleasures, right? Because all America is about is pleasure. All the comfort, the microwave generation, everything is about comfort. Everything's about right now, and everything's about their so-called science, falsely so-called, and you're just supposed to trust in that, right? That dwelleth carelessly, because that's what all you do. These girls are walking around scantily clad, just because like Dave Chappelle said, because what I mean, and that's why he's in the hot seat right now, because he say things that make sense. So if you could say this and you could do this, but why can't you do this? So you can't show any respect to this type of level, right? Rather, because someone's trying to say it was because he was talking about comedians, but hey, listen, but you know what it refers to too. You know what I mean? Ultimately, you knew that they treat black people, so-called black people, a certain way, and that's okay, right? In the eyes of this world. So, but you're careless. You dwell carelessly, that saith in thy heart, in your mind, I am and none else, right? I could do what I want to do. I do what my mind thinks, what I feel in my heart, I'll do whatever, right? Do it thy will. Alex de Crawley, right? The Illuminati. That's what, and a lot of you Jakes, you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, you Israelites, you Jake, You Jakes follow it. You know what I mean? I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I have loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection. Right when the Illuminati is about to fulfill the Illuminati agenda, right in that perfection of them implementing that New World Order, for the multitude of thy sorceries and for thy great abundance of thy enchantments, for thus has trust in thy wickedness, thus has said, none see me. Right? That's the Illuminati. None see them. That was the Illuminati secrecy. Right? None could see them. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it have perverted thee. Right? It's perversion. Right? Basically foolish. You know what I'm saying? You thinking things is a certain thing in a certain way, but it's really in your youth, your thought process is corrupted. And thus has said in thy heart, I am and none else beside me. Right? So really you ultimately still just going to get your judgment. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thus shall not know from whence it riseth. Oh, so you've been rising up against us, but what evil's going to come upon you, and you're not going to know from where it rises from, right? And mischief shall fall upon thee, right? And that's really ultimately what they're not understanding. Thus shall not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly. Right? And it's gonna happen suddenly, because they think they got this control opposition with the closing up the ports and locking up all the items, right? Because it was showing on the news that CVS has all their items locked up, like even the even simple things like toothpaste, and just everything's all locked up. So this is all control opposition, because in other places they're already showing no magic juice, no shopping, right? So it haven't really hit America yet that way, but it's coming. No magic juice, you can't even shop for food. So but suddenly evil's gonna come upon you, man. Suddenly, which thus shall not know, right? Because they don't know. In your youth, you don't know nothing. You don't know. You're ignorant and you make foolish decisions, and not knowing the ways of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, and nor could you. You cannot understand the ways. The ways of Yahweh is too high for a fool, right? Yeah, so this is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 15. So I did this because it has a bunch of different versions, besides the King James version. So it kind of give you more, because it basically says pretty much the same thing, through the translations. So it says this one's a New Living Translation. A youngster's heart is filled with foolishness, but physical discipline will drive it far away, right? But Esau don't have that physical discipline, right? He has discipline, but his discipline is for wickedness. His discipline is for wars, rumors of wars, to destroy, right? Because to tell you that the Satan, he cometh but to steal, kill, and destroy, and that's Esau Edom. Satan goes into your adversary. Adversary goes into your enemy. Your enemy is Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, to you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. And all he knows is war. All he knows is to conquer. All he knows is to lie. Right? All he knows is to do foolish things. Right? Says, just to show you that it has to do with the, well, here's the King James Version. It says, foolishness is abound in the heart, right? Heart goes into lob, which means mind, of a child, right? Which goes into youth, child. You know what I mean? Like I was saying, he's young. He don't know no better, right? Even though he was born before us, he don't have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, or the capability to actually understand, to stay on the righteous path, that the Lord will actually say, you know what? I forgive you for, because that's all the Lord's asking us to do, is come back, right? As the children of Israel, just to come back to him, right? With humbleness, of all humbleness of heart, serving him with your heart, your mind, your soul, and all your being, everything that you are. But the rod of correction shall drive it far from him, right? And for you Israelites, the rod of correction is going to be Esau Edom, right? It's going to be your death, your destruction, and following the ways of this devil, man. This is a Christian standard right here. It says foolishness is abound in the heart of a youth, right? Which is going into them being younger than us, right? Yeah, so we're going to go right here to Proverb 24, verse 7. Wisdom is too high for a fool, right? And that's ultimately what Esau is. And, he's a fool. That's why the Lord is saying that he's young. He's in his youth. He's a child, right? He's in his youth. He don't understand, right? Because that's a childish thing to do. If you're already in a deficit, and there's already not enough workers, and there's already not enough this, and there's already not enough that, you know what? I know a great idea. Let's put a mandate across everybody, and and more people end up not going to work, and then those industries suffer even further. See, but only a fool would think like that, mostly because they feel like they have it under control. It's control opposition, right? He openeth not his mouth in the gates. Oh, wow. Right? Because he's not protecting you. He could say what needs to be said, and he could do what needs to be said, right? Because a gate is for protection. He's not saying it to the elite. You know what? No, this is about America. We gotta because he'll end up getting put to death, like the president of Haiti and some of these other presidents that spoke against it. Right? You mean? Let's skip down here to 14. Proverbs 24:14. So shall the knowledge of wisdom be unto thy soul, right? Because that's ultimately for you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian. Knowledge is to be unto our soul, right? When thus has found it, right? But Esau Edom, he's always constantly, like the scripture says, he's wise as Daniel. There's nothing they can hide from him. But even with all that, he's foolish. is a lot. He don't really understand the spirit and the power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, right? Then there shall be a reward unto thy expectations shall not be cut off, right? And ultimately Esau's expectations is going to be cut off in what? In the perfection, right? What like when it says when they are about to eat, like it says in Job, when their belly is about to be full, in that perfection is when they're going to be cut off, right? And that's what's going to happen. Their expectation is going to be cut off. But you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, your expectation is to be in the Lord. Yeah. So this is Obadiah chapter 1, verse 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even into the borders, right? So all these other nations that they so-called have, they're allies with, even England, who's their mother, is going to shoot missiles upon them, right? The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, right? Because the Lord said that they're going to prevail because the Lord want America to become a desert. He want nuclear missiles to hit America, that it's only thing that's left is going to be desert creatures. And whatever, vegetations that's going to be able to sustain the desert creatures, but it's not going to be vegetation that's able to sustain man, because no one's ever going to live on here again. The Lord said not even, was it the Ishmael shall pop up his tent? Like nobody, right? So, Salakia. Yeah, so they're going to conquer you. They're going to prevail against you because the Lord want America to be a desert. They that ate thy bread, right? Because they took in $1.9 trillion, and most of that went into foreign aid. Whatever they did with that, right? They that ate thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is no understanding in him, right? Because he's a fool. He's young. He's in his youth. He's foolish. Foolishness rests in an abundance of foolishness is in a child or in a youth, right? And that's Esau Edom. He's younger than us. Even though he has in us in derision, he's younger than us, and ultimately he's going to be cut off. Shall I not in that day, right? In the day that the Lord's coming, Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, through his son, Yahweh Shai, and the angels coming to judge this world, and the main judgment is coming to America. It's coming to America. You know what I mean? Right? Saith Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, even destroy the wisdom out of Edom, right? Out of your so-called wise men, you don't have any understanding. And the Lord's going to take even more of your understanding, right? And understanding out of the mount of Esau, right? Even your top people, your international bankers, your elite, because they're thinking they're making wise decisions. But also on the left-hand side, Satan is lying to them, and they're believing every word. The simple believeth every word. You're believing every word that Satan tells you. And thy mighty men, your military, right? Old Teman shall be decimated to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter, right? Because what? They had us in derision. Matter of fact, here it is right here. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, right? You so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, that's why we call you Jakes. Because you come from Jacob, and they've had violence against you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. You so-called Puerto Ricans, Native Americans, Mexicans, so-called Black people, Haitians, Jamaicans, you know what I mean? Dominicans, Cubans, right? Colombians, right? That they want to call you. Those are your hidden names, but you're really Israelites. You're really Yasha'Allah. You're really Jacobites. You really come from Jacob, right? You're Yasha'Allah. He prince power of God, or he prince of power, or he prince of God, man. Right? Or basically break it down into it is another way of saying son of God, right? Because we're sons of God, right? Well, meant to be. But a lot of you lost your way because he tried to move you out of the way of understanding right along with him. And a lot of you followed it. You got the juice, and now you're gonna get the chip, and you're gonna be destroyed, right? And yeah, for the violence against thy brother Jacob, right? Shame shall cover thee, and thus shall be cut off forever. See? And that's the thing that's coming to Joe Biden that he don't understand. They're going to be cut off forever. But he think this control opposition is somehow going to help him. It's somehow going to sustain him. But he's young in his youth, and he's foolish, and he don't understand. Call Lawyum Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakal Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the Four Winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever, right? The hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but your bloodline goes back to Israel, and you have come back to the fold. Shalom to the sister of Akwaf, listen in silence. Shalom, and death to America.